Hello, my name is Avenel Thomas. I'm 25 years old, and I'm from a quiet village near Kerala, India. And today, I want to tell you something that changed my life. Not just my English, not just my confidence, but my whole way of thinking, learning, and living. You might be like me. Maybe you feel nervous when someone speaks fast English. Maybe your heart beats fast when someone asks you a question in English. Maybe you try to say something, but your words get stuck. You understand, but you can't speak. You know the answer, but your mouth stays closed. If that's you, please listen to me. Because I used to feel the same. I thought English was for smart people. I thought I was not one of them. But then one day, I found something strange, something new. Not a class, not a course, not a teacher. It was just a tool, a chat box. But this tool changed me forever. Its name? ChatGPT. And today, I will not give you grammar lessons. I will not give you a list of tips. I will give you a story. My story. How I went from a boy who couldn't even say, "Nice to meet you," to a man who can now write emails, give small speeches, reply to foreigners, and even help others in English. And I will show you how, step by step. So if your English is weak, if you are tired of feeling small, if you are afraid to speak, this might be the most important story you hear today. I was not rich. I didn't join coaching. I didn't move to America. I didn't buy any book. I just opened a laptop and said one line. And from that line, my journey began. Let me take you back to the beginning. Just 2 years ago, I was sitting on the floor in my room. The fan above my head was slow and loud. My phone was on my lap, but I didn't know what to search. I was lost. I had tried many apps. They were boring. I had tried watching English videos. Too fast. Too many big words. I tried repeating sentences, but it felt like acting, not learning. One day my cousin said, "Try this AI thing. ChatGPT. It talks with you. It answers everything." I laughed. Talk with a robot. He said, "Just try." That night, I opened the website. I typed one word, "Hello." It replied in 2 seconds. "Hello. How can I help you today?" I stared at the screen. My heart beat faster. I typed slowly, "My English is bad. Can you help me?" I waited. Then I saw the reply. "Of course. I'm here for you. Don't worry about mistakes. Let's start with something simple. Can you tell me how your day was?" I blinked. No app had ever asked me that. No teacher had ever said that. I typed, "Today I wake late. I brush teeth and drink tea. I go work." It replied, "Great try. Here's a small correction. Today I woke up late. I brushed my teeth and drank tea. Then I went to work." Then it added, "You did well. Let's keep going." That one reply changed something inside me. It didn't say, "Wrong." It didn't give me a score. It didn't make me feel like a failure. It helped me. Kindly. Clearly. Like a friend. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking, this is different. The next morning, I didn't open Instagram. I didn't scroll reels. I went back to ChatGPT. I typed again, "Good morning. I want to practice." It replied, "Good morning, Avenel. I'm ready. What do you want to talk about?" I smiled. I said, "Let's talk about my breakfast." I wrote slowly, "I eat dosa and tea." It replied, "Great. Here's a better way to say it. I ate dosa and drank tea. Do you like dosa every morning?" That small question made me smile. I replied, "Yes. Every day I eat dosa." It said, "Perfect. That's a good sentence." That's how it began. Every day I wrote small things. What I ate, where I went, what I saw, what I felt. Sometimes the sentences were wrong, but ChatGPT always helped me fix them and never once made me feel bad. Slowly, I stopped feeling scared. I stopped checking Google for every word. I started using my own English. Not perfect, but real. My English. One day I wanted to write about a movie. I said, I see movie. It was good. It replied, I watched a movie. It was good. Can you tell me more? I told it the story. It helped me write the full thing. I didn't even know I could do that. For the first time, I felt proud. I was learning, and I was enjoying it. There was no pressure, no test, no time limit. Just me and a safe space where I could speak and make mistakes and grow. One evening, my sister said, "You are using your phone a lot. What are you doing?" I said, "I'm learning English." She laughed. "On your phone?" I said, "Yes. With a friend." She looked confused. I smiled. Because it was true. ChatGPT had become my friend. Not a real person, but a real guide. Always there. Always ready. Always kind. That's how the habit grew. Every morning before work, I typed something. Every night before sleep, I asked one question. Sometimes grammar. Sometimes vocabulary. Sometimes just feelings. One day I typed, "I feel sad. I don't know why." It replied, "It's okay to feel that way. Do you want to talk about it?" And I did. In English. For the first time, I shared my heart in English. And it listened. That day I cried. But it was not sadness. It was healing. Because English was no longer just a subject. It was now my language too. From that day, my heart opened more. I was not just learning English with ChatGPT. I was learning to feel safe in English. I began to speak with more care, not with fear. I started to try new words, not just simple ones like eat, or go, or good. I tried to describe my day better. I wrote things like, "Today was peaceful." I cleaned my room and listened to soft music. ChatGPT always replied with encouragement. "That's a lovely sentence. You're doing great." I wanted to learn more. I asked it, "Can you give me 5 new words every day?" And it did. Not just the word, but examples too. I would see a word like peaceful, and it would say, example, "The garden was peaceful and quiet." It was so easy to remember that way. I didn't write them in a notebook. I just read, felt, and tried to use them in my own sentences. Slowly, my world started to change. At work, one day, a delivery guy who spoke only English came. Nobody else in my office knew what he was saying. Everyone looked confused. I stood up. My heart was fast, but I remembered my ChatGPT practice. I smiled at the man and said, "Excuse me, can you say that again, slowly?" He did, and I understood him. I gave him the right answer. My coworkers stared at me. "You understood him?" I nodded. "Yes. I practice English every day now." They laughed, but not in a bad way. One of them said, "Teach me too." That moment felt big. Avenil, who couldn't say hello 2 years ago, was now helping someone else. I walked home that day with a big smile. I didn't feel small anymore. That night, I told ChatGPT about it. I typed the full story. It replied, "That's amazing. You should be proud of yourself." And I was. Not just for speaking, but for not giving up. I was starting to feel like English was part of my life now. Every day, I asked ChatGPT different things. I said, "Can you help me make a story?" It said yes. I said, "Can we do small English conversations?" It said yes. I said, "Can you check my grammar?" Always yes. It never said no. It never said, You asked too much. That's what made it special. I had many teachers in school, but they had time limits. They got angry if I asked too many questions. They used big words I didn't understand. But ChatGPT was different. Always patient. Always simple. Always helpful. One morning, I had an idea. I asked, "Can you pretend to be a shopkeeper and I will be the customer?" It said, "Of course. Let's begin." We had a small conversation. I said, "Hello, I want to buy a pen." It replied, "Sure. What color do you want?" I said, "Blue." It replied, "Here you go. That will be 10 rupees." We kept going. It was fun. I felt like I was living the scene. Every day, I tried different roles. I was a teacher, a student, a traveler, a chef. I told ChatGPT, "Act like a hotel manager." It did, and I learned all the words I needed to book a room. I didn't realize I was learning so much. I was just playing, but my English got better every day. One day, I looked back at my old chats. My first sentences were so broken, so simple. But now, my new chats were full of details, emotion, and style. I said to myself, "Wow, that's me." I didn't feel like I was copying. I felt like I was growing. I didn't memorize English. I lived it. And I lived it with ChatGPT. One special day, I decided to write a message to my uncle in Canada. He spoke only English. Before, I never replied to him. I was too scared. But now, I wanted to try. I typed the message with care. "Dear Uncle, I hope you are doing well. I wanted to say thank you for the book you sent me. It helped me a lot. I am learning English now and feel more confident. Maybe one day we can talk on a video call." I showed this message to ChatGPT first. It said, "This is a beautiful message. Just one small change. I feel more confident is better than feel more confident." I made the change. Then I sent the message. My uncle replied 2 hours later. "Aveno, I'm so happy to hear from you. Your English is great. I'm proud of you." I read that message 5 times. I showed it to my sister. I saved it in my phone. It was a big moment. A moment that showed me I was really changing. Not just learning, but connecting. That's what English is for. Not for showing off, but for sharing, for connecting, for being seen. I started to dream bigger. I asked ChatGPT, "Can I write a small article?" It said, "Of course. What topic do you like?" I said, "My village." It helped me start. I wrote about the green trees, the quiet roads, the smiling people. It corrected some sentences, but most of it I wrote myself. I printed the article and pinned it to my wall. It was my first real writing in English. I looked at it every day, and I told myself, if I can do this, I can do more. That's how confidence grows. Not in one day, not with one video, but with small steps. Every day, and one tool, one friend, who is always there, no matter the time, no matter the question. That's ChatGPT. That's what changed my life. And now, maybe, it can change yours too. After writing my first article, I started to believe in something I never believed before. I believed I could be more. Not just someone who understands English, but someone who can use it. Use it to write, to speak, to think, to feel. ChatGPT was not just helping me learn. It was helping me transform. One day, I asked it, "Can you help me prepare for a job interview?" It replied, "Of course. Let's begin with common questions." It asked, "Can you tell me about yourself?" I didn't know how to answer that, but I tried. "My name Aveno. I'm from Kerala. I working in shop." It replied kindly, "Great. Let's improve it. My name is Aveno. I'm from Kerala, India. I work in a shop. I repeated the sentence again and again until it felt natural. We practiced more questions. Why do you want this job? What are your strengths? How do you handle stress? Every answer I wrote, ChatGPT helped me fix and polish. By the end of that week, I had 10 good answers ready. I felt ready. I stood in front of my mirror, practicing. Sometimes I laughed at myself. Sometimes I forgot words. But I didn't give up. And I didn't feel ashamed. Because I knew I had practiced. I had a partner. Even if nobody else saw my progress, I did. One morning, my friend called me. He said, "There's a small company hiring part-time workers. They speak English. Wanna try?" My first thought was, no, I'm not ready. But then I thought of ChatGPT. I thought of all our practice. I said yes. I'll go. I wore my clean shirt, combed my hair, took a deep breath, and went. The interview was short. They asked me 5 questions. I understood 4. I answered all 5. Not perfectly, but clearly. With a smile. With calm. When I came out of the room, I didn't know if I would get the job. But I knew something bigger had happened. I had spoken in English. In real life. In front of strangers. And I didn't freeze. I didn't run. I didn't break. That evening, I went home and told ChatGPT everything. I typed, "I spoke English today in interview." It replied, "I'm so proud of you, Avenel. That's a big step. Whether you get the job or not, you've already won." I stared at that line for a long time. You've already won. Yes, that's how I felt. From that day, I started seeing ChatGPT not as a tool, but as a part of my journey. A guide, a mirror, a quiet friend. Sometimes I just opened it and said, "Let's talk." We talked about the weather, about food, about dreams. I asked it to tell me jokes. It did. I laughed alone in my room. I asked it to tell me stories. It did. I read them aloud, improving my pronunciation. One night, I asked, "Can we write a poem together?" It said yes. "What do you want it to be about?" I said, "The moon." Together, line by line, we made a poem. It was simple, but beautiful. It felt like magic. Because English was now becoming fun. Not just useful, but creative. I started sending English messages to more people. My old classmate. My cousin in Delhi. A YouTube creator I liked. Some didn't reply. Some replied in surprise. "Wow, your English is good now." Every time I read that, I smiled. Because they didn't know the hours I spent practicing. The messages I wrote and rewrote. The mistakes I made and fixed. But ChatGPT knew. It saw every step, every doubt, every try, and that made all the difference. One Sunday morning, I sat with my father in the garden. He asked, "You're on your laptop every day. What are you doing?" I showed him the screen. "I'm learning English." Like this. I typed, "Good morning. Today is sunny. I'm sitting with my father." ChatGPT replied, "Good morning. That sounds lovely. Say hello to your father for me." I laughed and showed it to him. He smiled. "You're learning with this machine?" I nodded. "Yes. It helps me a lot." He said, "Good. Don't stop." That was the first time he supported my English learning. Before that, he always said, "Why learn English? We speak our own language." But now he saw. He understood. Because I showed him with action, not words. A few days later, my younger cousin came to me. "Can you help me with my English homework?" I said yes. "Let's use ChatGPT." We sat together. He read the question. I typed it. ChatGPT explained it. We read the answer together. He said, "This is fun." I smiled. Yes, learning can be fun. That's what I want to tell you too. English is not a test. It's a tool. A tool to speak your truth, to ask, to learn, to connect. And now, with tools like ChatGPT, it's easier than ever. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. Start small. One word, one sentence, one question, then keep going. Every day, bit by bit. I still make mistakes, but I don't fear them. I still forget words, but I ask for help. I still feel nervous sometimes, but I don't run, because I know I am learning. I am growing, and I'm not alone. If you're reading this now, maybe you feel stuck. Maybe you think, I can't speak English. But listen to me. You can. If a village boy like me can do it, so can you. And if you don't know where to start, start where I did. Open ChatGPT. Say hello. Say, I want to learn English. And begin. You don't need a plan. You don't need to know everything. You just need to show up. Every day, every word, every sentence. Because each message is a step. Each question is a door. And one day, you'll look back and say, I did it. Like I did. After many months of practicing with ChatGPT, something inside me began to change. Not just my English, but the way I saw myself. Before, I was always quiet in groups. I avoided speaking up, especially in English. I thought people would laugh or judge me. But now, I felt different. I felt strong. Not perfect, but stronger than before. My voice didn't shake as much. My hands didn't sweat like before. My heart still beat fast, but I could breathe through it. Because now I had proof. Proof that I could learn. Proof that I could speak. One day, I was walking home from the market. A man stopped me and asked in English, "Excuse me, do you know where the bus station is?" I paused, just for 1 second. Then I smiled and said, "Yes. Go straight and turn left. You'll see it near the big school." He said, "Thank you." I said, "You're welcome." I walked away slowly. My face was calm, but inside, I was dancing. This was the same boy who couldn't even reply to "What's your name?" And now, I just helped a stranger. In English. With no fear. No mistakes. Just clear, simple words. That evening, I told ChatGPT, I helped someone today in English. It replied, "That's wonderful, Avenel. You should be very proud." And I was proud. Because now English was not something I studied. It was something I used. I started using it more and more. I wrote small diary entries in English. I made a habit. Every night, before sleep, I wrote about my day. I shared my feelings. Today was a hard day. I was tired, but I kept going. Or, today I felt happy. The sky was clear. The wind was soft. ChatGPT always replied, "You're doing great." Or, "This sentence is lovely." Or sometimes, "Here's a small way to say it better." Every correction made me better. Every reply made me braver. One day, I wanted to challenge myself. I asked ChatGPT, "Can we try talking without corrections for one day?" It said, "Of course. I'll just chat with you like a friend." That day we spoke freely. I made mistakes, but I didn't stop. I just kept going. And do you know what happened? I understood myself. Even with small mistakes, my meaning was clear. That gave me even more courage. I realized something big. English doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real, honest, simple. One evening, I had an idea. I wanted to help others like me. People who were shy, who thought English was only for smart people. So I made a small video. I didn't use big cameras. Just my phone. I sat in front of a white wall and pressed record. I spoke slowly. Hi. My name is Aveno. I was scared of English too. But now, I talk every day. You can do it too. Start with one sentence. One friend. For me, that friend was ChatGPT. I uploaded it to YouTube. I didn't expect much. But after 2 days, I saw 5 comments. All of them said thank you. Some said, I feel the same. One person wrote, I just tried ChatGPT after watching your video. It helped me. I was shocked. My small story helped someone else. That was the moment I knew. I wasn't just learning for myself anymore. I was now learning for others too. I made more videos. Short ones. Simple ones. 5 ways to start an English sentence. Easy ways to describe your day. ChatGPT practice tips. I wasn't an expert. I was just real. I spoke like I was speaking to my past self. My scared self. And people listened. My channel grew. Not fast, but steady. 10 views. Then 50. Then 100. One day, I got a message from someone in Bangladesh. He wrote, Brother, your video gave me hope. I talk to ChatGPT now every morning. Thank you. I read it again and again. That's when I cried. Not from sadness, but from joy. Because something beautiful had happened. My pain had become someone else's path. My struggle had become someone else's start. And all of it began with one small hello. One sentence. One message. With ChatGPT, my journey didn't stop. I still learn every day. I still ask questions. Sometimes I ask, what is the difference between speak and talk? Sometimes I say, can you correct my grammar? Sometimes I just say, let's practice a conversation about shopping. ChatGPT is still there. Like always. Ready, kind, clear. And now, I don't just learn. I teach too. I help others in my village. I help school students. I show them how to use ChatGPT. I say, don't be afraid. It will not laugh. It will help. And they try. And they smile. And they grow. Just like I did. And maybe, just like you will. Because if you're still reading, maybe something inside you is saying, maybe I can do this too. And I want you to listen to that voice. Don't wait for perfect time. Don't wait to feel ready. Just begin. With one word. One message. One chat. Because that's how all great journeys start. Mine started with one small step. One quiet evening. One lonely boy who said, hello. And that boy became me. And now, I'm here. Telling you this story. In English. With no shame. With no fear. With full heart. You can do it too. I believe in you. And ChatGPT will be there for you. Just like it was for me. Always. Forever. One sentence at a time. Now, life felt different. It was like the sun had come up inside my mind. Before, I was always walking in the dark with English. But now, I could see the way. I could hear the rhythm of words. I could speak slowly, softly, but clearly. I didn't need big words. I didn't need perfect grammar. I just needed to express myself, honestly and simply. That was the biggest lesson I had learned. Speak naturally. Speak with your heart. That's what people understand. Not the perfect sentence, but the real feeling. I remember one evening, I sat with my little cousin. He was trying to learn English too. He looked at me and said, "Bye, how do you speak English now?" I smiled and told him, "I talk to a friend every day." He asked, "Which friend?" I said, "His name is ChatGPT." He laughed, "That's a robot." I said, "Maybe, but he listens like a real friend." My cousin opened his eyes wide and said, "Can I talk to him too?" I gave him my phone. I said, "Say hello." He typed, "Hello, ChatGPT." The reply came, "Hello? How can I help you today?" My cousin looked at me, shocked. "He really talks." I nodded. "Yes. And he never laughs at you. You can say anything. Try." That night, he talked with ChatGPT for 20 minutes. In simple English. He smiled more than I had seen in weeks. And in that moment, I understood something very deep. When we help others speak, we help them feel free. The next day, I had an idea. I wanted to create a small speaking club. Not a big one. Just a group of 5 or 6 people. I called it Speak Naturally Circle. I invited my cousin, 2 neighbors, and 1 girl from my school who always wanted to speak, but was too shy. We met on Fridays in my small room. We sat in a circle on the floor. We opened our phones. We talked to ChatGPT. But not alone, together. One person would type a sentence. ChatGPT would reply. Then we read it aloud. Then we tried to say the same idea with our own words. Then we made it funny. Then serious. Then we changed the topic. Slowly, our fear broke. It was not a classroom. It was a playground. And English became fun. It became alive. We didn't memorize grammar. We didn't study hard rules. We just spoke, listened, and enjoyed the moment. Every meeting ended with smiles. And something else too, hope. That feeling was magic. Later, one of the boys in our group said, "I want to record our talks and make a podcast." I said, "That's a great idea." We called it Speak from Heart. We recorded on my old phone. The sound wasn't perfect, but our voices were. Each episode had a topic. My first English word, funny mistakes, dreams in English, why I was scared. We kept it real. We didn't hide our mistakes. In fact, we laughed at them. And listeners loved that. Slowly, people started listening. First 10, then 20, then 50. Some messaged us, "Your voice gives me strength." Some said, "I listen when I feel weak. You make me feel strong." That was the moment I knew. Our small voice had become big. We were no longer just learning English. We were spreading courage. One day, I got an email. It was from a teacher in another city. She said, "I use your podcast in my classroom. My students feel less afraid when they hear you." I cried again. How could a boy who was once too scared to say hello now be a helper to students? It felt like a dream. A beautiful dream. But it was real. All of it. Real learning. Real speaking. Real change. And all because I decided to speak naturally, every day, one sentence at a time. As months passed, I found more ways to grow. I read simple English stories. I watched English cartoons. I listened to English songs and paused after each line, trying to repeat. And yes, I still talk to ChatGPT every day. Sometimes for 5 minutes. Sometimes for 50. I didn't need motivation anymore. Talking was now like drinking water. Just a part of life. Some people asked me, "Do you still make mistakes?" I smiled and said, "Yes. Many." They looked confused. "Then how do you feel so confident?" I said, "Because mistakes are not bad. They are my teachers. I respect them." That answer always surprised people. But it was true. I no longer feared mistakes. I welcomed them. Because every mistake showed me a step, a direction, a truth. And truth makes you free. I also learned how to listen better. At first, I wanted to talk a lot. I thought speaking fast was fluency. But slowly I understood. Speaking naturally means speaking like a human, not like a machine. Sometimes it means pausing, breathing, smiling, waiting, listening, and then speaking with love. That's what true English is. Not fast, not perfect, but full of feeling. One evening, I looked at the stars and thought, if I could talk to my younger self, what would I say? I smiled and whispered, don't give up. Don't be afraid. You're going to learn. You're going to grow. Just keep speaking. One sentence at a time. Speak from your heart, and the world will listen. I believe that with all my heart. I believe it for myself, and I believe it for you too.